Hi, everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of Disruption Talks by NetGuru, where we discuss industry thought leaders in terms of how their business is empowered by tech. And much like I'm sure that you've used an iPod in your life and you were very pleased with the 3 clicks to get to your song, Heroes and Sebastien operate under the same principle, making donations as simple as possible, as engaging as possible, and making sure that you're not just a one-time donor, but that you keep coming back for more to do good and help out the world. So, Sebastien, this was an introduction to Heroes, but I think our audience would love to hear an introduction to you. Could you tell us a little bit more about your personal why of the situation and what led you up to the creation of Heroes, which is a young company, right?
Yes, thank you, Philippe. Well, thank you for having me here on this talk with you. And hello, everyone. So I'm Sebastien. I'm the founder and CEO of Heroes, as you mentioned very well, Philippe. The idea of Heroes is really to help anyone in the world to do a donation in less than 5 seconds. So that's what we have built. And my personal why we have been built this company that is barely 2 years old. It's because I have the chance to volunteer some time ago in Africa, in South Africa and in Namibia, where I witnessed all the work of the extraordinary work of the NGOs and foundations that I've been volunteering for there. And I decided at some point, as being someone who loves animals and wildlife and nature, that there was a great opportunity here to build something that could help I hope millions of people and save some animals and climate change.
That's very much in line with NetGuru's one of mission statements to improve our impact positively, 1 billion people's. So hopefully that 1 million comes from Heroes, if not more than 1 million. So what is donation tech? I know that people are aware of the donation space, GoFundMe, personal donations, sending an SMS when you see an ad on TV, but donation tech is something that tries to elevate that from just the simple methods, right?
Yeah, it's a good question. Actually, there's in generality, like the charity industry and the donation industry is a huge industry. Like people get a bit. It sounds quite weird when you say industry, when you talk about donation and doing good and stuff, but you really have to tackle this as a real problem, and to mention that the donation industry in the US, to give you a number, is around $490 billion a year, so it's a huge industry compared to the automotive industry in the US, which is around like 550 billion every year. So you can see the comparison here, that it's something quite huge as an industry. And it also highlights that there is a huge issue in terms of government responsibilities and also the private sectors that are not being able to tackle some certain problems, and the need of having non-profits, foundations, and NGO doing those work instead of the government. So yeah, this is a huge industry and a huge problem. And as I just mentioned, it can highlight the necessity to have those non-profits. Did that answer your question, Philippe? I hope.
It does, but I want to lead with a follow-up one. So what is there to disrupt, really? What are the problems that right now we're facing? I know we discussed this in person, but let's give it to our audience. What is wrong right now that we're trying to fix?
Yeah, I mean, is there? I don't know if there is something wrong, but there's definitely something to improve. This industry needs more visibility. That's the first thing, and more money, definitely. And for years and years, NGOs and nonprofits, they have been using their website as the donation place, to get some donations, and that was enough for a certain time, having just one landing page. But today, there is more and more NGOs in the world, more problem as well. Unfortunately, there are millions of NGOs everywhere in the world, and the technology that was used right now is not aligned with what the new generations needs. For like the millennials, the Gen Zs, the average donor's age in the world globally is 64 years old. So it's quite, it's very old. And yeah, today we need to have some product that's match the expectations of young generations. We are like really involved in making good happen, in the world. And we saw it with Black Lives Matters, with the COVID, with the Amazon wildlife fires. We had so many young people, willing to get involved and tackle those issues. So in terms of products, I mean, there is a lot of opportunities in terms of approach as well, of having more partners such as brands and also organizations, corporations, and on the other hand, building product that can be that can reach the audience of the NGOs wherever they are, which is in stadium, can be at concerts, can be at festivals, can be online, offline, in different places. So I think it's really like we are really into a transition right now where we are building more and more experiences around donations to keep donors engaged and to find very interesting and engaging ways to talk to these people.
So the immediate question that comes to mind is, how is Heroes pioneering all that you just mentioned? The engagement, the simplicity, the UX. Give us your secret sauce, so to say.
I don't know if we have a secret sauce or if we are pioneering on that. I mean, so many platforms out there are doing great works, and we just with the team. First of all, I think we have a great team, which makes the difference as well in terms of approach, and definitely the approach of the problem. It's something that's a bit maybe different than what our competitions or like other people are trying to solve the problem. We really start by solving the problem, starting from the user experience, from the user. So the idea was really, how do end user thinks? How do they where they are? How do they think? How do they they share content with their friends? How do they interact with NGOs? What are close to their heart? What topics? And the idea was really to think that we need to have the minimum, how do you say that, friction, like it's really about being frictionless. So about that, it's thinking about, okay, we start thinking about the donors first, and then we work the product backwards. And I think that was really key at the beginning. Secondly, I think also our approach to the distribution of the campaign, the way we do things. So at Heroes, it's really about having a 5 seconds experience, but also the experience has to be an experience. So the experience is also about where do you experience the donations. As I mentioned before, like with Heroes, we do that in stadiums. So we partner with football clubs, with festivals, with music videos on TV. It's really about how you interact with the donors and which experience you give to the donors. So that's really something key. And we also partner with brands, with corporations. So our campaigns can be sponsored by brands who are really also key in the equations. So yeah.
So essentially, we're fighting for attention, much like with social media. As we're fighting for attention here, we're trying to get someone to pay attention to the campaign. And I know for a fact that you have mixed both online of Heroes and offline of, for example, QR codes in art exhibitions that led directly to the Heroes campaign. Could you tell us something more about this offline and online mix?
Yeah, I mean, the idea of the offline and online is also to have this chance of creating a 360 degrees campaigns. That's when you engage with a cause that is close to your heart. You don't want to do it just once online through a long experience. You also want to see people and interact with the same causes at different places. For if it's an art fair or if it's in a stadium, you always want to find the same causes that you can help. And that's one of the things that we did. And recently, we had a campaign with WHO Foundation, which we had the official fundraising partner during Roland Garros. So we had QR codes on TV, on beIN Sports, which is the broadcaster. And we had a QR code on TV, and people could just scan the QR code and do a donation to the WHO to fight the COVID. So I think this principle of having online and offline and fundraising not only on social media is really important, and also to engage with the donors offline.
So whatever you do, regardless if it's donation tech or anything else, you can't be lazy towards your users. You really need to think, how can I make this special for them, whatever it is, right? So everyone's favorite topic, COVID-19, of course. We've got a question from the audience. Rafael asks, I'm curious if 2020 caused a significant increase in donations because more people donated more money because there were more causes, just like you mentioned, or did we rather become more stringent and less eager to actually share our money because these are tough times economically speaking as well?
Yeah, it's a really good question actually, which is really related to your question as well, Philippe, and COVID I mean, COVID was a bit tricky this year because at the same time, all the offline events got canceled. So basically, we had less channels to distribute our campaigns. So personally, for the company, we had some events that got canceled. But generally, there has been like a tremendous support during COVID from people for like all the different issues that we had this year, very important issues that's racial and social issues as well, that raise a lot of money and a lot of light for those issues. And surprisingly, from data that we have, which are not the final data for the year, but we have some reports that said that the donation went a bit down during 2020, which is quite surprising. But some other data that we have are saying that people are giving more. So we also have to be really cautious about what what is involved in donation, because donation can be something like a charity act at a church or something like that, and people forget and only thinks that donation is something that you do online during a campaign or something. And yeah, COVID was something quite impactful for the industry. And especially for those NGOs who have been not ready, to fundraise online, because the online fundraising of the COVID has really pushed people to fundraise much more online than offline, and to have different activations. And one big part of fundraising for charities and for NGOs is also, gala at the end of the year, so these kind of things that could not happen. So that was also a big issue for them during the year. So let's see how the year ends, especially with December is almost 30% of the yearly donations in terms of data. So we'll see what happened in December with the Giving Tuesday and all the Christmas holidays. So
sure. I mean, I know for a fact that companies are making up for the lack of physical events with online events, and I think Heroes plays greatly into that because it's just a mix of the online part, right? So that also leads me to my next questions. Could you give us some crystal ball readings into the future of donations? Because you just mentioned a moment ago that we've got 550 billion for automotive market in the US versus 490 billion for donations. So is there a ceiling for the donation industry? Is it something that will continuously grow, or is it something that has to hit a roadblock at some point because you cannot just squeeze more money out of people, so to say?
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's a really interesting question, and it also made me realize that I forgot to mention something regarding the previous question regarding the COVID. COVID with the insecurities, instabilities of the economy, of the context, also push people to give a bit less because uncertainties. They don't know how they will end up their months and stuff like that. So that's also one thing to take into consideration. Talking about that, and it all depends. The future all depends on how governments also will be able to tackle some issues, and take responsibilities in and efficientness in tackling those issues. I don't see a ceiling for donation because the Charity Act is something that is narrated by human beings. It's something that's whatever happens and whoever is in a bad condition, in bad situations, it's something that comes as human being, is really something that's part of yourself, So I don't see there is a ceiling. We cannot say, oh, stop giving or stop something. But if the governments are keep feeding us, I think the donation industry will just grow and grow and grow. And and it all depends. But there are some issues that are really difficult to tackle, such as plastic, in the oceans, for instance. It's something that is really difficult. If you don't have NGOs such as, I don't know, the Ocean Cleanup, Valley for the Oceans, that are taking, action to tackle those issues, it would be really difficult for government to say, oh, I want to remove the plastic from the ocean, because some oceans can be, like in Mediterranean, but the plastic goes to the Ocean Indian, and then who is the owner of this plastic? So it's quite tough. So yeah.
Okay. An interesting question I see from the audience is about verification. There's many causes, many platforms. How does one, especially from the donor side, verify that this is an actual cause? And it's not a question pointed at Heroes, it's a general question. Yeah. How do you make sure that what the other person is telling you is actually where the money will go?
Yeah, exactly. Which is also one of the biggest challenge for any fundraising platform or donation platform or any money transaction platform. There is always this challenge of trust, of course. Personally, for the company on Heroes, for now we only accept NGOs and foundation manually, if I may say. So we verify them manually, working with like big names. It's pretty easy to be sure that the money goes where it goes, especially when they are incorporated in countries like such as Switzerland or France or Germany. It's a little bit more challenging when it's abroad. But there is more and more techniques that can be implemented to have this vetting verifications on companies, and each companies are their own. But basically, the most basic one is to look at the websites and to make sure that they are properly incorporated. If they are a US incorporated company, you can check if they are listed as a 501c3. So there are a few ways of making sure that the company is a proper NGO, a proper foundation. I think that's a really challenging, one of the biggest challenge that we're gonna have the coming years. It's to develop this tool that can be automated, where we can really easily verify the companies and where the money goes. And that's something that we already have been working for a couple of months. So.
Okay, definitely interesting. Would be keen to see some sort of unified standard or verification certificate that basically says this is safe to invest in as a donor. So also when we think donations, that's basically a way of saying a payment to a good cause. So here we've got a question from the audience. It's concerning any partnerships with tech giants like Facebook and Revolut. And as much as I'm pretty sure that, for example, Facebook has their own donation system, so we're speaking about competition here, Revolut, I'm guessing it doesn't. So is there any room for aligning companies like yours with existing payment systems and some sort of intertwining integration?
Yes, definitely. Revolut also has their own page on their app, which is quite cool, where you can give really easily as well, but it's within their ecosystem. And the whole idea of Heroes is, as Thomas said, it's about partnerships. So the goal of Heroes is really about finding the best partners and the biggest visibility for NGOs that we help fundraise. So the idea of partnering with tech giants make totally sense for me. I mean, Facebook, we already use them as our campaigns are embeddable in the timeline. So we use their platform as a distribution platform, if you want. So we already do it without having partnerships. But in the long term and the medium term, the more people we have in the ecosystem, the better. So we can create more visibility for the NGOs, because at the end, that's what makes our priority. And in terms of integrations and partnerships, we also discuss with big names that I cannot mention here, but where the idea is also to gain more visibility by partnering with them and gaining those new communication channel.
Okay. Another question that I see, and I have a question built on top of that, is key technology struggles in charity donations today. I know that perhaps not technology-wise, but UX-wise, it's about engagement, because it's one thing to get someone to donate once. It's another thing to have someone with brand loyalty coming back and being a recurring visitor of Heroes or any other donation platform. So once again, key technology struggles and charity donations today in your eyes.
Yeah, as soon as there is a movement of money, there is always some challenges. But today, I mean, one of the technological struggle that we can have is the implementation. Sorry, of new payment system and wallets. You know, typically having bitcoins or like all these different coins that we could have, and local payments, which are pretty difficult to implement, because each one of them, if they are not on Stripe or on PayPal integrated already, you know, it's kind of a lot of work to implement for each different local and countries. So this is one of the biggest struggle, is really having a local payment, because local payment also means a better engagement with local people. And we definitely want to have more local payment on Heroes. This is one of the key challenges that we're going to face as well for the coming years.
All right. I wanted to also ask, because I know, and subject to your permission, I know that I can speak about this. You are, as a 2-year-old company, currently raising a Series A financing round. So we always ask these questions to entrepreneurs. COVID versus the startup life. How has that impacted perhaps just the startup scene in your eyes, and more specifically the space in which you operate?
Yeah, actually, it's a post-seed. We already had a seed last year, and we do a post-seed. Yeah, it's really interesting. Actually, it's the first time that I experienced that, in terms of fundraising virtually. So that's really something really strange in my mind. I'm really into like energies. I like to meet people. I like to exchange and these kind of things. And having a meeting with a VC, with the investors through Zoom, it's something that you need to adapt, definitely. And it's really different than what we are used to. And yeah, I mean, I guess it's the same for people who are trying to do sales. They need to use Zoom because they cannot meet in person. And from what I heard, and people in the space, has not been very easy for people, to fundraise during COVID, especially because in terms of a VC perspective or angel invest perspective, you already have like a portfolio of company that you have invested in, and COVID obviously has an impact as well on those companies. So sometimes they need just to help their existing companies among the portfolio. So far it's been quite good for us. I have to say that it has been great, but it's quite challenging to do that and not being able to go to the US or to travel.
All right. So speaking of investors, that means valuations. And the next question from the audience is, do you think we will observe a donation tech unicorn in the next 2-3 years? It's probably uncanny space to be thinking in terms of billion-dollar valuations, but what's your take?
I mean, why not? I will say why not. It all depends again, on who you can bring in onto the table, and I think it's a huge space, as you can see the numbers, but also all the actors that are entering the space. You see that Facebook, Instagram, TikTok is launching their fundraising tool. So you can see there's a lot of things to do. I think at first the tech giants, they started looking at that as a features that was like I want to look good features, and make people feel good and stuff. And lately they realize as well there's a huge opportunity for them. Having one company that becomes a unicorn, I say why not? Honestly, I say why not? It will depend on how the market evolves, and if it's going to be if it's a market that is owned by multiple companies such as Facebook, TikTok, with a lot of different places where you can fundraise, or it would be one place, a go-to place. We'll see. Time will tell.
Okay. Time for a little bit of a personal question. The ideal partner for Heroes, what kind of company or popular individual would you like to see in a campaign with Heroes? This can be based on what you think is important for the world, what sort of good cause is important to you personally. So what's that?
It would be a mix of people, causes. Personally, I guess I would love to tackle the elephant crisis in the world, and rhinoceros as well crisis personally. But in terms of perfect partnerships, having big giants of the sectors, such as Amazon, Salesforce, or big name like that starts really implementing fundraising within their websites. Amazon does it as well a bit, but much more like on the daily basis, and on their product as well. Having big consumer products starting doing fundraising as well would be amazing. Not only for us, but also for the impact that can bring to the table, and the visibility that can bring to causes. So I guess as soon as we have the big corporations that coming as well into the space and give us access to their distribution channel, it would be great to partner with those people.
Absolutely. Question from our own Grzegorz. How does Heroes affect you? Has anything changed in your life? I'm sure it has. So please tell us.
Yeah, I think I'm really dedicated. So this is something that Heroes changed into my life. That's that I don't feel like working. Like during the weekends or anytime during the day. As soon as I open my eyes, I think about Heroes and how I can improve it, and especially knowing that you can have an impact and that you do good. It changed your life. It's like even though if it's like a really small compared to the rest of the world, I mean, what we do, it's really small, but it's high opening on the different crises that is happening on the world, and also on the different issues that are existing, and it really gives you a why. So that's I think the reason to live for someone is really to have a why, and it's great to be able to work on a product. So having the design, the experience, and at the same time, we are for profit, and we do good. So that's a great combination, I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, I've actually watched this TED Talk. I don't remember who it was by, but it was towards the problem of people having an issue with companies like yours being for profit, or anything that is charitable cannot be for profit. And the question was really why? Because if it helps someone and it makes money at the same time, everybody wins, right? So final question from me, unless there's any more from the audience. Oh, we've got Carolina's question. How do you see the future of fundraising in the current world situation? And what are your predictions for the post-COVID world when it comes to charity? So I understand, Carolina, that when you say post-COVID, we imagine a world in which we don't have to wear masks anymore and we can go back to the offices normally. So does it change? Do the changes stay that COVID will implement?
That's a great question as well. I guess, we will see also in the different tendencies of the last fundraising campaigns that happened during the last 6 months, that at some point people were a bit fed up about COVID topic as well, so that was also something that it was interesting to witness. I guess in my opinion, the idea is like after COVID, there will still be big issues to tackle, especially climate change. And COVID has a bit taken the attention that we saw rising, the last 1 year, 2 years with the climate change movement that we saw with Friday for Futures and these kind of things. Was growing massively, in the world. It was all about climate, and because of COVID a bit overshadow the climate issues. And I personally hope that after COVID, there will be still room for fighting climate change and having some great fundraising campaign for that. And yeah.
All right. So back to the question that I wanted to ask before I saw Carolina's question. Christmas time is coming. So is Heroes going to release, this is just an idea, also a question, some sort of general non-partnering with a specific brand, but in general towards a cause around Christmas time? Is that something that you would consider, or you only cooperate with brands and don't do like Heroes with Heroes campaign, so to say?
No, we are planning to do an internal campaign with our own partners, to fundraise with our own partners and network. it's something that should be implemented every year, and definitely we're going to do it. And we're also going to do that for the clients, corporations and brands. So, and our clients, NGOs, definitely.
Absolutely. So listen, Sebastien, thank you so much, because we're hitting the 30-minute mark and I don't see any more questions from the audience. So unless you have some closing remarks, I would like to invite everybody onto the next week's episode. And in the meantime, make sure to check out Hero's fan page, LinkedIn page, Instagram page, go to the website, Google it, and make sure you give some of your money to do some good in this world. Thanks a lot, everyone. And thanks a lot, Sebastien.
Thank you, Philippe. Have a good day.